So have you written down any goals for 2025 yourself, doing this business yourself and everything like that?
Honestly, my vision right now is more around of just kind of building my team. Started the hiring process, looking for a VA. I'd love to have 20,000 mailers out by the end of the year. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
You working a job right now, or what does that look like? Are you working a job? Did you quit?
Don't tell my boss. Yeah, I'm working, and I actually really enjoy it. It's very fulfilling, but working for the Department of Defense comes with a lot of restrictions.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Ron Apke, joined by my guest, Nephi Gomez. Nephi, really happy to have you in here. And you just had that confession. I've been calling you Nephi for the last 6 months. You never corrected me. But Nephi, so happy to have you. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so let's just get into what got you into land investing. I think that's kind of the biggest question. A lot of people, there's so many people that come from different spots, different career paths. And I'm going to learn a lot about you here too. So I'm excited about that and your exact story. But what got you into land investing?
Yeah, for me, the really big reason was the location independence, actually. So my girlfriend, she's from Brazil, and we're working on our paperwork right now, but I really want to be able to move there indefinitely and just spend time with her and her family and her country and just get fluent in Portuguese. So that's really the big one for me, because there's lots of avenues. I have real estate, I have short-term rentals, but this is the only one that I really felt like I can just pick up my laptop and go, for sure, with like the active income side of it.
And you started about 6-7 months ago or so. How long before that, before you started, were you researching? Real estate, multifamily, Airbnb, whatever it is, those are great, but they're not like cash heavy where you're going to replace your income relatively fast. Were you looking at other things as well to get into, or like how'd you land on this business model?
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of funny. I started first with I started house hacking in 2020, got into a 4-plex and then got into a 6-bedroom, 3-bath, and then a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. But then I noticed this isn't really going as quickly as I would like it to be. I'm not really I've been doing this for a while and not free. And so then I started exploring other avenues for active income. The first one that came to mind was buying businesses. It felt like a natural step from real estate to buying and selling real estate to businesses. And the other was, since I already had them, was maybe focusing more on the Airbnb and short-term rentals. But the more digging I did and figuring out why I was doing what I wanted to do, the more I realized what I wanted was the location independence. And that's where I landed on land investing, just kind of seeing how people are able to do this from other countries, from their homes, and that was very, very exciting to me. And then I also I still have my real estate and the short-term rentals. I'm trying to kind of steer toward midterm rentals, because I know people who travel the world with midterms rentals as well. But yeah, that's the goal for me, is to just be free location-wise. I have family in Mexico, I have family in Brazil, and it's just not the same talking with them over Skype.
Yeah, 100%.
Or just visiting for a week.
That's exciting. Are you working a job right now, or what does that look like? Are you working a job? Did you quit?
Yeah, don't tell my boss. But I'm working. I work for Northrop Grumman. I'm a Scrum Master, so software project manager, and I actually really enjoy it. It's very fulfilling, but working for the Department of Defense comes with a lot of restrictions. I have to ask permission every time I, leave the country. I have to report back every time I come back. I have to report every foreign contact. So there's just, it doesn't work for the location freedom kind of lifestyle that I'm looking for.
That makes sense. So so you started in March. Talk about those first couple months. Are you the type of person that kind of hits the ground running, gets rolling right away, watch all the education, then start taking action? Or what did that look like your first 2-3 months?
Yeah, I like to think that I'm a person that hits the ground running, but sometimes I'm pretty methodical. I like to think things through, and so that sometimes kind of slows me down a little bit. But I was first introduced to land investing online through Action Academy. I know a lot of folks kind of went that route, and talking with a few folks, particularly with Dylan. Dylan Rush was the one that pointed me to, to your guys' program, and he gave me some really good advice. Really advising me to hit the ground running. He basically said, start the course and just get to the mailer section. And once you get to the mailer section, stop the course, or send your mailers, because that's going to take a while, and then you can continue the course. So that's kind of how it started. That's the path that I started on. And then along the way, someone reached out to me, my partner, and he's just basically saying hey, have you considered partnering? And I kind of thought about it for a second, and it's it made a lot of sense. It was just kind of land investing is capital heavy, and as far as the mailers and the purchase of the land, so it just made sense to me, starting out, to definitely have a partner to work together on that.
So do you know when your first mail was sent?
I want to say it was April 27th.
Okay,
actually.
So end of April. Yeah. And when did you buy your first deal? I know you've had quite a bit. Some people, it takes some time, the first 6 months, and we talk about it with a lot of people we have on the podcast. First 6 months are ups and downs, and if you can be profitable in the first 6 months, you're doing really, really well. Talk about that first deal you got. Was it from your first mailer, or how'd that go? How'd that first mailer go?
Yeah, it was from the first mailer. It was pretty wild. So, I remember early on in the partnership, I told Simon that we have to have some kind of competitive advantage, something that differentiates us. And so I'm from Utah, and I didn't know, but apparently Utah's a non-disclosure state. And and I just so happened to have my real estate license because I was trying to save money on these house hacks, trying to get back my the down payment through some commission. Mm-hmm. And so I had access to MLS. I didn't have that same barrier as everyone else. We targeted, we sent our first mailer out. It was actually only 1,000 mailers, I think. And then, we set everything up. We set up our open phone, and it just started ringing. And between the two of us, we actually kind of had a hard time keeping up. Maybe that it just felt that way because it's they're calling on a Saturday morning, Saturday night, or different times during the day. But I just had a hard time keeping up, and at the same time learning the whole thing, learning how to qualify deals and all. We had two really promising deals. One fell through, but the other one went through, and that one was that was a home run. I think we closed on it a month after sending out the mailers, and as soon as we closed on it, Simon took the initiative and put it on Facebook Marketplace because our realtor was out of town. And then I think that same day we had a cash offer. It was a buy for 20, sell for 50.
Wow.
So that was a really fast
yeah.
turnaround. Yeah.
So that was the only deal from that first mailer. Is that correct?
From that first mailer, yes. We had some promising leads that we almost closed on, but didn't quite go through.
So when you got into this business, Nephi, did you have set goals for 2024? What did that kind of look like? If you're getting into new business, okay, I want to make this happen. I know you wanted freedom as far as location freedom. Did you have set goals financially for 2024, or what you wanted to make happen with this business?
I think ultimately where my mind was at was I wanted to be able to relocate to Brazil by Christmas. That was the plan. I didn't actually have a specific number in mind that I wanted to, I think, hit, which might be why I'm not on track. But that was the main goal, was just to in 6 months be able to relocate to Brazil. And to me, what that meant was just being able to pay off some credit card debt and just have enough money to, I guess, live for 6 months.
So on a monthly basis, what are you kind of doing marketing volume? Actually, before we get into that, let's talk about your partnership, because I know you had a partnership and then that kind of dissolved. Sounds like amicably based on what we talked about off camera. And I think it's like when you can do that in a professional manner and like both parties understand like this is what I'm looking for. And when it's just usually when goals just don't align, or maybe it's just like someone's feels like they're working more. You don't have to get into all the details, but talk about that a little bit, because some people try to make partnerships last forever and they're just not meant to.
Yeah. I mean, that was a huge learning experience for me. It's the first business partnership I've ever been a part of. And like you said, yeah, we did end amicably. We're actually going to talk with our lawyer later today to just kind of amend the LLC and everything. But yeah, I think, when I said I wanted to get into a partnership, a lot of people gave me a lot of told me to just be cautious about it and not kind of jump into it too quickly. One thing was do you guys complement each other? Do you guys need each other? What does he bring or you bring that the other person doesn't? And at the time, I think it also made a lot of sense because since I'm an agent, the pros is I have access to all this information. But the con is I have this hurdle of, disclosing to everyone and a lot of paperwork disclosing that I'm an agent. So the thought was oh, maybe, we could do everything under Simon's name or kind of work through him, but I have the data. And eventually we didn't have to do that, but that was kind of the thought going in. Yeah, I mean, it started out great. It's really great, starting out to split the costs and to have someone to bounce ideas off of, especially when you're kind of just learning. So working together, keeping each other accountable, I think really helped us get over that initial hump and that initial learning curve to be able to still be doing this 6 months later. And we learned a lot. And I think where we maybe weren't clear on was the extent or the length of the partnership. I think Simon maybe had a much more long-term permanent perspective, and I think I had a much more temporary. Let's get on our feet and just kind of go from there. And so yeah, that was I think if we were really clear on that from the beginning, that would have helped a lot. At the beginning, we were a little bit struggling with our roles, who does what. I think I was kind of advocating for a round robin. Let's just kind of each lead that comes in, or, you take one, I take one, and we take it to the finish line. And I think he was more, let's have an acquisitions manager who gets everything to the purchase agreement, and then another person who takes it from the purchase agreement to title and closing, etc. And so that's what we did, and it actually, worked out really well. I think both, could work well. I was the acquisitions manager, he was the operations manager, and funny enough, I think we might have been better switching them around, because I have an engineering background, I'm really meticulous, and he worked in sales for Bigger Pockets, so he's got that, relationship management, more people skills. And so maybe we got it backwards, but either way we learned and we got out of our comfort zones, and I think we're both making a profitable exit. So
nice. That's it's good how you guys handle that for sure. And you see these blow up sometimes way worse, and they create so much. And it's good you guys did it before it got worse at the same time, because I think you guys both on the back of your mind probably knew okay, this probably isn't a long-term thing. This isn't working. So that's really good that you did that. So talk about, since you've been in this business yourself, what do you kind of look like? What's your volume on a monthly basis?
Yeah, that's something that we could definitely, have definitely improved on. So we did, basically 1 month we did 1,000, another we did 4,000, and then we did 1,000. And then I think we took a break and then we did 4,000. Something along those lines. So I guess now that we are have this freedom to take things in our direction, that's something that I know that we're both going to be better about. It's setting a goal and just being setting a target and being consistent with it. So I think that we'll be. I'd love to have 20,000 mailers out by the end of the year. So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
So have you written down any goals for 2025 yourself, doing this business yourself and everything like that? You have any goals written down or any goals in the back of your mind? Obviously, you said initially that Christmas 2024, you're trying to move to Brazil. Is that what does that look like? What does that timeline look like?
Yeah, I think mainly for legal reasons. Starting her immigration paperwork, I don't think that's going to be possible legally, but it would be great to be able to do it financially. But honestly, my vision right now is more around of just kind of building my team. So since I'm not going to be working with my partner anymore, I started the hiring process, looking for a VA on onlinejobs.ph. And my vision is to create kind of more, not just have one VA, but almost like an org chart of VAs, a small one, with the intent to be a lot more kind of in the background, pulling the strings and not so much in the weeds. I think right now my vision includes, having that team of remote workers. I'd love to have I want to hire primarily in the Philippines, and it would be awesome for me to just host these annual retreats out there in the Philippines, go out there in person and just kind of get everyone together in person. Initially this hire is going to be like an operations manager, someone who would be my second self. Then I intend to hire an acquisitions manager, a due diligence specialist, and maybe like a bookkeeper or someone.
Is that engineering background pretty helpful with as far as org charts, systematizing stuff? Is that kind of where that engineering background comes into play?
I think so, but I feel like I'm all about, I started after college, I was a process engineer, and currently I'm a software project manager. So project management, visibility, visibility of work. Yeah, that's a pretty big deal for me. But don't get me wrong, I actually really loved being an acquisitions manager. I love getting on the phone with folks and just talking, getting to know their situation. They're they're real people, and some of them really need the money, and you're kind of helping them out.
Yeah.
So that's a really fulfilling part of the role for me.
100%. I like that a lot. So what's that hiring process been like? What's your timetable on hiring this operations manager, getting them in? Because hiring an overseas person, there's systems to be able to hire them for sure. Onlinejobs.ph is great, and we refer people to them all the time. What's that process going like? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I feel pretty great. I mean, actually, this isn't my first try. So, 2024 has been interesting. It's been a ride because I actually did hire a VA to help me on the Airbnb, and she did lamb flipping on the side, and then I had to let her go. So this is actually my second try. I'm taking all the lessons I learned from the first hire to the second. I recently got some really good advice on hiring, and the main thing is I'm hiring full-time, starting at $5 an hour, looking for someone with a lot of leadership qualities. I'm actually asking them to submit their DISC profile, and I actually on ChatGPT I just threw in the job description. I need this person to do this. Tell me the ideal DISC profile for this person's position. And it showed me, it's they need to be a high D because they need to, be able to keep things going, take control, and be a leader. But they also need to have attention to detail and be meticulous. They need to be a high C as well. Mm-hmm. And I kind of asked, I threw mine in there. Turns out I'm a high D and a high C as well. So I'm basically hiring myself out there, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. I haven't heard of anyone doing that with the overseas. I've done some DISC profiles in the past for sure. That's exciting to hear. You feel pretty good about this round as far as, I think, learning from anything. If you're learning from mail or you're learning from whatever, you're learning, I don't want to say you messed up a hire, just a learning experience. And it's so warm and fuzzy at the beginning. You're so excited about someone, and then reality kind of hits sometimes. I'm sure that might have been, you feel pretty good about this kind of taking what you learned, like you said, and implementing on this next hiring process.
Yeah, and actually I learned a lot from you guys from a specific, a YouTube video you guys put out on how to hire a VA. There's a lot of really good filters and questions to ask. Please submit an audio application. What does your technology setup look like? And there's more on, are you comfortable with like the night shift? Are you comfortable starting with this, pay? And it's that was super helpful because I just filter out all the people who just don't follow the instructions. And there's a lot of people who will do that. They'll just blast their application, their generic application, and sometimes you can just tell they didn't read the job description and definitely didn't answer the questions on the job listing. So that was already like a big help. And I feel a lot more confident going through on this one, getting a lot more applications and being a lot more targeted. So I have 2 already. I posted it like this week on Monday. And I already have like 2 or 3 people that I'm really confident that I want to interview.
Nice. That's exciting. If you kind of take a step back and like 24 months from now, like where do you think your business is, like in your mind, like where do you want your business to be? Not even necessarily financially. What does your business look like 24 months from now? What are you trying to build towards? You obviously said you want to build an organization, and not everyone says that. Some people want to stay very lean and not put money into people and just do everything themselves, and they don't have to rely on other people. But it sounds like that's a big part of it for sure, is building people around you.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've met some folks who they just I met a stay-at-home mom who all she wants to do is be able to stay at home and do a deal a month, and she's happy, and that helps her do what she wants to do. But for me, even in my W-2, I realized that I get a lot from being a part of a team, and even like a remote team. So really, I think building that structure and having that team behind my back is important for me. I think working remotely can be very lonely sometimes. I don't think people realize that when they're looking for a remote job or jumping into land flipping, is like, if you're at home a lot, it can just kind of take a toll. So I really want to build that team around me to support things. But yeah, 2 years from now, I hope I have, my goal is to have, my operations manager, that org chart filled out, the acquisitions manager, due diligence specialist, bookkeeper, hoping to be able to do those annual retreats, go out to the Philippines. Maybe once we get profitable enough, bring them over here to the States, get them really excited about what we're doing, building that team. My 3 main focuses with the business currently is I want to focus on realtor relationships, creative financing, and just very fast implementation. So, and what that looks like to me is as much as cash offers has been working for me, I really want to make this, I like the creative side of things, just to be able to really be a problem solver and explore other solutions that might work better for specific sellers. And doing it at volume, being able to, all I'm looking for at this time is being able to go back and forth between the US, Brazil, and Mexico, send my 10,000 mailers a month, maybe 20 mailers a month, 20,000 mailers a month, and just have a really solid team, people that I really admire and respect, and they admire and respect me back, and just working together to make something great.
That's awesome. That's a good vision. You got to write that one down for sure. And being able to travel to the Philippines, doing that with having a team of people around you, it is important. And so many people overlook the value of being around people that you actually respect and you actually want to be around. So many people hire, I don't know. And that's one of my biggest things when I'm hiring is do I want to actually be with this person all day? And it's just the truth. And some people probably don't want to be around me all day, but that's fine. But yeah, being around people that you want to be around, hiring people that you actually enjoy being around, it's so important. And those are our employees that stay long term, are those people. If you had advice for someone getting into this business, you're not far removed from not being in land. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, I like getting people on the podcast who are relatively new. But if you had some advice for someone looking into this or listening to this podcast, what would you kind of tell them if they're on the edge, teetering between land investing or just staying in their W-2 and settling?
The first thing is let's figure out if land is for you. For me, location independence is huge, and it's working for me. I want to work from my laptop. If it's between land or W-2, land all the way. I guess my advice for folks starting out is like, lots of people have done this. It's repeatable. It's, you can do it. Anyone can do it. It's very easy to learn. But for that same reason, I would suggest looking for a very specific niche or some kind of competitive advantage that will make you stand apart from the rest. I think my concern sometimes is that the barrier to entry can be a little low, and so most people, like almost anyone, can learn this business. So looking for something that really sets you apart. For me, at the beginning, it was focusing on non-disclosure states, and that's really, really helped me out to this point. And then, and moving forward, I don't know if I'm going to only focus on non-disclosure states, but I know that I want to focus on relationships with agents and specifically creative finance. That's creative finance, and then also just for me, very fast implementation and turnaround. So yeah, that's my advice. Is like, you will be successful with land if you just basically follow the process, but also look for opportunities where you can niche down.
Everyone has their own like spin to make this, like do a couple deals and then like add like what's working, what's not working, and it's so different for everyone. You're my third student I've interviewed today on a podcast, and it's just it's not a ton different. It's not like you're that much different than Shelby, and Shelby's not that much different than Chad, who I've talked to today. And the other thing that when you're talking, and one of our missions at Land Investing Online is providing freedom through land. It's a very open-ended thing, but it's what we do. And all three of your freedoms are very different. Shelby's freedom is staying at home with her daughter, being able to work on land. Your freedom is being able to travel, location freedom. Chad's freedom, he doesn't really want to quit his job, but Chad just seems to love to own the business. I think if I had I think that's kind of like his freedom, is being able to own a business, run a business day to day. And he also has a young kid that he's raising as well. So it's really cool kind of seeing different people's freedoms. But as far as that advice for people just starting, like absolutely getting into it and then just putting your own spin on things. It does not have to be a crazy spin where you start building houses or building self-storage facilities on land. Seller financing. It's not that difficult of a concept, or creative financing. I'm sorry. It's not that crazy of a concept, but it's going to get you deals, Nephi, and it's going to, I think it's going to separate yourself. Anything else you'd like to add, or anything else you think can be valuable to listeners? Anything like that?
I think off the top of my mind, I think community's big, being engaging with other like-minded people, having conversations, bouncing ideas off of others, I think a lot of people can be successful independent, but finding that group of people that can really support you, not just in the intellectual, but also in the emotional. Sometimes entrepreneurship is just lonely, and so yeah, support community I think is big. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I love seeing that within our community, is people meeting each other, people talking on their own, you meeting other people, and it's really cool to see for sure. But if you guys are watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, leave us a review, share this with a friend. It really helps. Nephi, thank you so much for coming on today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you, Ron.
As always, thank you for joining. Please do us a huge favor and like and subscribe our YouTube channel and share this with a friend. It really means the world to Ron and I, but more importantly, it could help change the life of someone else. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you next episode.